one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here we are. Welcome to the April Town Board meeting for the town of Philipstown. Review of the minutes, weekly Town Board meeting of January 16, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Special Town Board meeting of January 25th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Monthly Town Board meeting of February 7th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Weekly Town Board meeting of February 27th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
I abstain. I missed that meeting.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Monthly Town Board meeting of March 7th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Weekly Town Board meeting of March 13th, 2019.
So moved.
Anybody?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met March 12th. Had a couple of items on there. A follow-up regarding Lake Surprise. That was in regards to a stop work order. Pretty much what they had done was to change the direction of a DEC-regulated stream. There was a discussion back and forth as to how to do that and at what times to do that. The other thing also involved the timber rattlesnake habitat up there is extremely close to the actual construction, and there has to be a plan for dealing with them and when to deal with them. So that was discussed as well. Also on the agenda was the Berlin property at 22 Hudson River Lane. This is to install a seasonal gangway ramp. This is for a floating dock. They're going to place 2 permanent concrete anchors actually into the river. That will be the actually only permanent year-round installation. They will be removing seasonally a 8x30 floating dock, and that will be supporting actually jet skis. In addition to the town, which the Conservation Board went and took a look at it, and obviously will grant a conditional permit, but it's based upon other state agencies. And that includes New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the New York State General Services. We were also notified by the DEC that we have a bald eagle habitat in our town. Our natural resources officer went out and confirmed the area, and it actually is on Philipstown property. The reason we do that is because they're asking us basically to ensure that any activities that occur in the area can be tried to monitor and evaluated to try to cause the least amount of disturbance as possible. And also we had a meeting regarding yesterday regarding stormwater management and covered a number of areas dealing with that for our updated report, which actually we'll talk a little bit later on. I also attended the Continental Village Clubhouse meeting, and a number of areas in there really dealt also with environmental issues. I was happy to talk about the CCA that will be coming up regarding our energy service for the town and renewable energies. Also, I give updates to people, as we will hopefully do next month, about stormwater. It's very critical in our town. Be very careful. We're coming up into the season, so we're going to be using fertilizers and so forth, and we have to remember that all of that will flush into our waterways, wetlands, and so forth. Be extremely careful. Don't put anything down drains, because they lead right in there. We don't have, our drains are not like cities where they go into sewage treatment plants. I also gave some updates in regards to the highway crews and repairs that were done in the area, along with some drainage problems, which solved actually some stormwater runoffs, which were causing problems to certain roadways. And I am also working with the town engineer regarding some groundwater issues, which happens because of some homes at the tail end of the actual water loop. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation.
I was unable to attend the Recreation Commission meeting, but Joel would, we have one of our Rec Commission members here. If you'd like to comment on anything from the Rec Department, come on up, please.
Surprised, Joel, you're speaking.
Good evening, Town Board. So we had a rec commission meeting last week. Everything is standard procedure. We started our summer camp sign-up programming for summer camp. Sign-ups are going great. Some of the age groups are sold out. Some of the age groups are close to being sold out, so they're pretty psyched for summer. We had Richard Stewart's retirement dinner last Thursday night, which was a lot of fun. And the final thing was Sunday, we had the Castle to River race. Thank you, Mr. Van Tassel, Ms. Farrell, for showing up to volunteering. We had 210 runners. This was a race that was scheduled originally for November, but was snowed out. They ran either a 50K, a half marathon, a 5K, and we had a kids' 1 mile fun run. It was a great afternoon. We raised just about $10,000 for the Friends of Philipstown Recreation.
I'd like to comment, that was an amazing event. I got stuck doing parking, but whatever. But there was license plates from so many different states. I mean, there was people, it was Utah, California, Connecticut. I mean, I saw plates from everywhere. I didn't recognize 2 people running in that race. So, I mean, it drew people from all over the country.
Really did. The reaction to the race was extremely positive. We're going to hold the same race in October,
Great.
October 19th. Same lengths, 50K, 25K, or actually it's a half, and then the 5K and the kids mile. So
Great.
we're hoping for a bigger number in the fall.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Philipstown Communities That Care.
Danielle, do you want to? Share, sorry, okay. Yeah, no, I'm here, so that's fine. Hi, good evening. Our Philipstown Communities That Care Coalition met this month, in March, towards the end of March. We meet every other month now at this point, and we had representatives from Drug World come and go through what they hold on their shelves in terms of getting rid of medication, unwanted prescription medication. They carry what's called the Terra bags that you could put pills in and destroy the pills after you shake them up in the bag, and they have something similar with like a pill container. It was nice for our coalition to get to see these things up close and to have representatives from Drug World go through them with us. So that was really helpful. They also explained their Narcan program, which is overdose reversal drug, and that they carry there, and they are part of the New York State program that waives the cost. All you would have to pay is your copay if you go in, and you can they will give you Narcan there right at Drug World. After Joanne, the pharmacist, would go through a training with you on the side and take you behind the counter and give you like a 15-minute training on the use of the Narcan, and then you would receive the Narcan right there on site. Insurance copays up to, I think it was $40. And so that's a great program that we want to spread the word about. And Drug World is a great partner of ours, our coalition. They've always been very willing to carry whatever products we've kind of seen on the market, and then we bring to them, including medication lock boxes that we've let them know about. So they've encouraged anyone to, if there's products out there that our community wants our local pharmacy to carry, to please contact them, and you could also contact the coalition as well. So that was a great part of our meeting, informative. And then we continue to just kind of talk about, we had great representation from our law enforcement and from our schools and from Putnam Prevention. So it just continues to be a great place where a lot of different sectors of the community are coming together.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was struck at the meeting by law enforcement's comments. Some of the officers that were there commented on the lack of follow-up community mental health services in our area for people who they help in the middle of the night. They get them to a hospital, but they come back here, and in Philipstown there is a paucity of services. So maybe we can talk to some of the healthcare providers about bringing those services to the west side of the county.
All right, thank you, Judy. Planning Board.
Okay, I attended the planning board meeting on March 21st, 2019. The first thing on the agenda was the Hudson Highland Reserve Land Trust, sorry, they have a piece of property on Travis Corner Road in Fort Defiance Hill. I reported on this last month as well. Anyway, they have a 77-acre parcel up there. They're doing a lot line adjustment to make it 2 separate parcels. One parcel will be 47 acres, which already has a approved building lot on it. To be additional 30 acres that's going to be in the conservation. And that property abuts the Appalachian Trail. So with that, the public hearing was very few public comments. There was nothing negative about what they're trying to do there. A couple neighbors, of course, were concerned because the property butts their property. But anyway, they had nothing negative for it, and they were all positives. So at the end of the meeting, the public hearing was closed, and the planning board approved the lot line adjustment. Under old business, which I reported on the last few months, is Taylor Feresi, 220 South Highland Road in Garrison. This is a 17-acre piece of property. They're trying to build a 4,000 square foot home. It was classified as a minor project a few months ago as well. There's steep slopes involved. The firehouse also recommended having a water system, sprinkler system, or a 3,000-gallon tank aside on top of their driveway. So if there is a fire, to have water readily available to them. Again, that was also approved by the planning board as well. Under new business, Mirardi, Grimm, and Juby, 977 East Mountain Road South. The applicant is seeking approval of final subdivision, which is just another lot line adjustment. A husband and a wife own the property. I think one of them is deceased. But anyway, the property between the two, they're going to do a lot line adjustment as well. The board classified it as a minor subdivision, a Class 2 action, and was referred to the county planning. A public hearing is scheduled for April 18th, which is the next meeting. Another thing on the agenda was 1122 Route 9D Realty, which is the golf station down on Route 9D. The owner is looking to put a 24 by 36 canopy over the gas pumps. So he was there with his engineer and presented his plans. There's still a lot more work that needs to be done. They filled out a short EAF, and the planning board said that was not good enough. So you have to go to submit a long AEF, which is an environmental assessment form. So they'll hopefully have that with them next month, and they'll take it from there. Also, I guess the last few years there was also kind of concerns about that piece of property before this owner took over. A lot of different debris in the back of it and so forth like that. That all needs to be cleaned up. So they are scheduling. They did a site visit this past Sunday, and at that time they'll determine when they're going to do a public hearing. Last thing on the agenda was 1657 Route 9D, Chris Buck. The applicant already had a site approval plan back in May in 2018. The applicant is just seeking the modifications to of the approved plan already. He's basically changing a little bit of the driveway that was already been approved on Gilboa Lane, and he's also looking to do some regrading. A new EAF form is required. The board will be the lead agency, and unlisted action was taken as well. They decided they did not need a site visit, so the planning board is very familiar with the property. There'll be a public hearing scheduled on April 18th as well. Meeting was adjourned at 8:45. Next meeting is scheduled April 18th.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Zoning.
I attended the March 11th meeting of the ZBA. There was one review of an application, the Conley family, Route 403. They're seeking a variance for steep slope allowance. The application was found complete and scheduled for public hearing on April 8th. That's it, which is the next meeting, April 8th.
All right, thank you. Highway.
I have the highway report as well. Philipstown Town Board from Carl Frazenda, work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of March. March came in like a lion with plenty of ice and snow, keeping the crews busy with salt, sand, and plowing. As spring arrived and the snow melted, the crews switched gears and went out in full force, filling potholes which have built up over the winter months. The Philipstown Highway Department maintains 60 miles of roadway, including about 31 miles of dirt roads. As the warm weather approaches, our crews will be out regularly to get the roads back into shape, and we ask for your patience. The crews will also begin clearing pipes and waterways which are clogged with debris or in need of repair. A vac jet truck was rented for several days to aid the crew with the larger jobs. We would like to remind all residents once again that dumping garbage is illegal. The cost associated with disposing waste found along the roadside is costly to the town, and the time could be better spent on the roads. For March, the Highway Department received roughly 30 phone calls or faxes regarding road complaints and issues. and roughly $11,000 was spent on vehicle maintenance and repairs. Above submitted, Carl present the highway superintendent.
All right. Thank you, John. Building and land. We have
Well,
plans getting ready?
the final plans for the renovation for this building should be completed April 12th and ready to go out to bid shortly thereafter. We are waiting on the mechanical plan from a mechanical engineer from Newburgh to complete the electrical, plumbing, and fire suppression systems. And then we hopefully will be able to go out to bid and get the work started. So we've been discussing renting of the American Legion Hall for a temporary location for our clerks and our offices. We still have not had a final deal with that. We did have one person's on our radar to be the clerk of the works, but it fell through at the last minute. So we are seeking somebody for clerk of the works, but we have somebody in mind.
Good.
Anything else? With highway garage? Okay.
Yeah, we had a meeting with a consulting engineer at the highway garage to discuss our plans to replace the highway garage, and he's working on plans. We've come up with a plan that we're probably going to take down half the building first, have the company come in, put up the first 2 or 3 vents of their building, and then move our things into that section and then take down the rest of the building rather than trying to shift things around and move people out of the highway department prematurely or move them off location or rent a tent, which would have cost close to $100,000. So if we're going to spend that kind of money, we're going to put it into the building. Yep, or into something we're going to own in the long term. So we think we can work it out where if we get things going soon enough, and we feel like we can, we'll have a foundation plan and be ready to go and let that out to bid in probably a month from now.
Right.
So that's it on highway. Cemetery Committee.
Okay, the Cemetery Committee met on March 12th. 2 brand-new members, and we basically went over pretty much what the committee has achieved in the last couple of years of its operation. And also, we were able to get started with the help of one of the new people, a new website, the Philipstown Cemetery Committee, and it has gotten a number of likes and hits, so thank you very much. And obviously, we're looking to put more and more information up there. Any restorations we do, interesting historical stones we find, and start to clean up more and more. We've talked in the past, as we start to raise a lot of these fallen over stones, a lot of times they fall over on the face where they're written on, and when you pick them up, they're almost like brand new again. So it's quite fascinating what you can find out that way. We also had discussions with the stonemason. I've had conversations with him, and it appears as though we are in agreement that we will move over to the North Highlands up on Horton Road, the cemetery up there. We were doing a lot of work at the Cedar Street, but we will be stopping there because the concern clearly is, and the stonemason concurred, that that cemetery up there is on a hill, and there are a number of stones which are starting to fall or haven't fallen already, and we're afraid that if we keep waiting, we're going to end up with more damage, and it'll end up costing us more. So we're going to have to move up there with tripods, and it's going to be some work, but it needs to happen. Hopefully, we are starting to get ready to get all our flags and equipment ready for next month, because we'll be setting up for Memorial Day, make sure our cemeteries are ready for the reviews and so forth. And with the new weather, obviously, we're looking to get in and start doing mapping again on our cemeteries in addition to doing work. So anybody interested, we're still looking for members. There's a lot goes on. We had 2 people ask for some very deep research, which really taxed our people quite a bit to try to search, and it gets quite involved with following family trees, and it's amazing how many people get moved and so forth years after they've been buried in one cemetery. So it's quite fascinating. So if you find that interesting, please think about joining us. And we're on the second Tuesdays of the month at 6 o'clock, and our next meeting is April 9th.
Thank you, Mike. Butterfield Library.
Jillian Thorpe asked me to read her report. Butterfield Library is a passport acceptance facility. To make an appointment, visit the library's calendar at butterfieldlibrary.org. If none of the available dates work for you, please contact jbldirector@gmail.com to arrange an alternative appointment date. The G. Marzola Children's Room project is underway, and bids have been collected, and work set to begin at the end of May or the beginning of June. The children's room will be closed during the renovation, and popular juvenile material, including the required summer reading list, will be moved to the stage. The remainder of the collection will be moved into storage. Tri-Canopy is a new streaming service that the library is encouraging everyone to try. And you can stream movies, documentaries, TV series, educational videos using your library card. In addition to Canopy, Butterfield Library provides its patrons access to Hoopla, Overdrive, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, PBS Passport, and the Great Courses. If you have any questions or concerns about any of these services, please contact Jillian Thorpe at jbldirector@gmail.com or 265-3040.
All right, thank you. I see Jen McCreary here. I'd like to come up and tell us what's happening at the Fish Library.
I have copies of our annual report to the community for 2018 for you, as well as information about our upcoming referendum with the Garrison School. And I can just, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
passing it
sure.
down.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
So we mailed out our 2018 annual report to the community, to the Garrison School District this week. So hopefully everyone has a copy of it. And I just have to say that the library is doing more than ever. We had over 600 programs in 2018. Our attendance and our visits are up, and we're just seeing an extraordinary amount of use from the community and a lot of work on the part of the board for community engagement and really just making sure that the library reflects the community's demands. And this evening I'm here to speak about the Desmond Fish Library's ballot proposition that asks Garrison School District taxpayers to invest in our library in the upcoming school district vote on May 21st. The library's referendum proposes an increase in public support from $75,000 annually to $300,000 annually. Just to put that in perspective, it's approximately 45% of our projected operating budget, and that's in the context of the Mid-Hudson Library System's average support for libraries, which is around 80% of libraries' budgets. As you know, we have a unique funding model at our library. We've relied on fundraising, grants, and income from our endowment, and we're extremely grateful to have the additional support of you, our town board, as well as the county. But as you know, all of these funding sources can fluctuate from year to year. The stock market can go up and down. We can have a fundraising dinner that's not as successful as others. So in order to maintain the level of services that our patrons rely on and to continue to respond to and reflect the demands expressed by our community, we're seeking to secure stable funding that will come from the widespread support of the community at large. This is the second time in 39 years that our library has asked for public support. And our request stems directly from our recently adopted long-range plan, which prioritizes ensuring that the library remains a strong and sustainable resource for the community and seeks to meet our patrons' demands for expanded access to information and resources in all formats, both online and off, improve the library's accessibility and services for all members of our community, and sustain the future of our library for many years to come. We're making every effort to get the word out about this referendum to the community, including this announcement and a second at the Garrison School Board meeting in March. We've sent press releases and we're advertising informational meetings in the local papers. And if you have any additional questions, we've put up a website for further information and documents about the library, which is desmondfishlibrary.org/public support. And we're also hosting a number of informational meetings in April and May, and I'll just read out the dates and times so we have them on the record. Saturday, April 13th at 11 a.m., Thursday, April 18th at 7 p.m., Saturday, April 27th at 11 a.m., Thursday, May 9th at 7 p.m., and Saturday, May 18th at 11 a.m. And again, the vote is going to be on May 21st, and we hope that our community will come out to support the library.
Well, thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to second that. I mean, libraries are much more than books now. They've become cultural hubs for the community and a place where you can go and access all sorts of information. And in this age where information is so important, the libraries have become more important. So want to wish you luck with that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, on to the agenda.
First item on the agenda is a presentation by Nicholas Falcone on a new safety feature that Philipstown Ambulance Corp. Is working on.
I'm Kim. I'm a volunteer for Philipstown. Unfortunately, in this business we work in, it's a little unpredictable, and Captain Falcone got mandated at work.
Okay, I know Nick, so.
I'm here today to talk to you guys about a campaign that we've been working on for about 3 months in-house, and we're ready to share it with the community. I actually have copies for you guys of this. A form that we've been working on.
Just give me enough.
Thank you. And what you have in front of you is what we're calling a life file. It is a form that contains all the vital information that a EMT or paramedic would need in an emergency situation, if you are unconscious or if you are confused for whatever reason, or if you have dementia or Alzheimer's and are unable to effectively communicate with us. It gives us your allergies, any medications you take, if you have a cardiac pacemaker, which if it's a cardiac arrest, that changes where you have to put the AED pads. So it's very important information. It's information that if we have to find on scene, if we're unable to talk to our patient, it takes time. And in emergency situations, a lot of times time is very precious. So it's a very easy to fill out form. It's very clear cut as to what it requires. And it's made to be as easy to read and as easy to understand as possible. We contacted all of our paid staff in-house and asked what they thought was the most vital information. We talked to all our volunteers and asked what they thought they needed to know. We've talked to other EMS agencies and asked their opinion, and this was compiled after 3 months of information gathering. Our plan to distribute this is our social media, as well as to have it available for physical pickup in the VAC. We're planning to speak with the libraries, with the local doctor's offices, to see if we can leave them there. We plan to speak with Foodtown to see if we can leave some at Foodtown, make it as easy and accessible as possible. What the VAC is asking is for the support of the town board in helping spread the information that this is available, what it is, and why you would have it. And we are asking if we can leave some of them for pickup at Town Hall.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're
Put this on
welcome.
the municipal channel as well.
Yeah,
maybe.
put it up on the municipal
That
channel, the
would be
website.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once it's completed, do you scan these in and then get them electronically?
It's actually, it goes on your refrigerator.
Oh,
if you have
okay,
any
so
sort
you
of
keep it at
advanced
home. It's
directive.
nothing that you would have. I got you. Okay. I
If
thought
you have
maybe
any
you'd
sort
a
of-
file when
yeah.
you got a phone call, you know who it is. When you get there, you already have some of this information. That's not the point.
At the moment, we're not compiling
Okay.
them because
gotcha.
it was brought up in meetings and the logistics of trying to compile it was very complicated. So for now, the plan is to put it on your refrigerator. If you have any sort of advanced directives like a DNR or a MOST form, you're instructed to put it on your refrigerator anyway. So our hope is to have all important information in one spot and it's easy to find.
Do you plan to present to the senior center? Is that one of the
I'm hoping to. I have to talk to Nick and find out who I have to get in touch with over there. One of our paid staff used to work for the rec center, and so he said that he would help us put us in touch with the rec center, and
We can take care of getting in touch with them.
that would be
We can
awesome.
facilitate
We just
that.
we want to make it as easy and accessible as possible, and it's one of the things that we've been trying to do is how can we improve and help our community be more safe. And
Absolutely. A great program.
I thank the town board for their time.
Well, thank you. This is a great initiative. Really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll make copies of it here and have it available at Town Hall for anybody who'd like to come and get one. And I mean, maybe in the future we can, when we send out a mailer,
Yeah.
we can put this in with the mailer.
Put it with the tax bill.
Yeah, we put it in with the tax bill, exactly. Most people have a heart attack when they get their tax bill, so.
Maybe you can make it part of the recreation that goes out every quarter.
Yeah.
In the booklet, maybe have the last page or something.
Yeah, you put it in with our rec flyer, yeah. But thank you very much. That's a great initiative. On an oversight on my part in committee reports, the Putnam County legislators here. I'm very sorry about that, Nancy.
On the agenda here.
Be like the vibe across the county.
We're not letting her speak here.
I'll just make it quick, because this would be a good segue into Danielle's report.
Yes.
And just a couple of things that were, positive things on the county side. They issued a lot of proclamations at this month's meeting, and one was, this is Alcohol Awareness Month, which is, I spent the day at St. Christopher's yesterday with Danielle, and we've got lots to report on that. It's also Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Child Advocacy Center, which I had the good fortune when I first got on the legislature. That was one of the first tours that I did with Mike Piazza, the Commissioner of Mental Health, and it's my new favorite place, the Child Advocacy Center in Brewster. It's family-focused, providing comprehensive multidisciplinary services for children suspected of being abused. And so this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's also Healthy Teen Brain Day is April 20th, which, if you guys all know about 420 and, the thing that kids do, and it's 420, it's the day to get high. Well, we've declared Healthy Teen Brain Day as April 20th. So, and also it was really great at the meeting. It was National Library Week, so we had lots of librarians came out, and we had a great opportunity to highlight all of our libraries in the county. Also, it's National Telecommunications Week. It's Peers Influence Peers Month. It's Teen Driver Safety Awareness Month. And those were all great things happening, in the county. I don't like to just, rattle off what's happening in the county. You could look at our website. I'm really here to answer any questions which you might have for me, or anything that I can bring back to the county. Like I said, I did meet with the folks at St. Christopher's yesterday, another great tour of St. Christopher's in depth. They brought us in with a focus group, and it was pretty transformative to hear the stories of the men there, to see their sober house that they had on campus, where men transitioned from the program to the sober house. And also, they would just like an opportunity to come and speak to you. So there's a number of things that I would love to put on the calendar in the future. I would love to get them in front of you to give their little PowerPoint 10 minutes, if I can put that on the schedule. Also, their head of security, Tyler would love to provide Narcan training. I did it with the full legislature together. We did it at last week's meeting, and it's just a great opportunity for us all to get trained together. I don't know if you as the town board would want to do it together at a meeting. I mean, it's a great opportunity to have it publicized with the cameras here and everything. If we could put those things on the calendar, that would be great, too. I met with Shakespeare Festival today, and am trying to help them with some tourism projects as far as partnering with Metro North and getting their information out. There's a lot of things going on. So basically, I met with the seniors today, too. That's always exciting. They brought up some issues that they have with the senior center, things that I'd like to work on. As you know, we had the Zumba class, the exercise class trauma, and that was resolved. And there are other issues. It's a small exercise room. They're not so happy with it, so they want to figure out how to remedy those things. But
put an addition on it.
It would have been good at the American Legion Hall. Plenty of room. Anyway, so anything I can help you with? I know we still have the electronic waste issue going on. April was the month that we were supposed to come to a memorandum of understanding with a provider. I still don't have that information, but I will follow up. Because this is the month.
A lot of requests.
Yeah, this is the month that I heard it was supposed to be resolved. So I haven't gotten a resolution on that yet, and I will follow up when I go back to work tomorrow.
I actually drove up there.
Did you? Is it overflowing?
Yeah.
Ours is empty, huh?
No, it's gone.
Oh, yeah, it's gone. Right, it's empty.
We don't
Yeah,
have
it's
it.
gone.
I thought we were going to get back in April.
We don't have
I
a
guess if people who have electronic waste, they could use the vouchers that we have for.
You have
But-
to pay for electronic.
You got to pay, yeah, when you go to.
Oh, they don't
charge
use the
you for
voucher for that?
electronics,
No.
yes.
Oh, I thought he said he would honor that.
Well,
Really, the only thing that we should be having to pay for is the tube TVs. Everything else, my understanding, that's the only thing that is hard to get rid of. The other stuff they can recoup some money from, so,
Well, he sent us a list of how they charge
yeah.
each item. So it
Anyway.
was my understanding with that list that we could still use the vouchers for e-waste up there. I'll get clarification on that.
Or
Yeah.
we'll start finding it in Indian Brook along with the tires.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right, I'll fix it, I promise.
All right. Thank you.
But
Thank
I've
you.
been spending a lot of time with Judy. Again, we were talking about New York Presbyterian and the resources at the new doctor's offices there, and working with them to develop some kind of behavioral mental health services there. And Judy and I are planning on meeting with them, and it keeps getting canceled. And that was one of the concerns the seniors had too, because ADA access to that building isn't quite evident. So, anything else for me? I can leave? Thanks. Will you welcome me next month on the
We'll
agenda?
try to get you on the agenda.
Thank you.
Judy, you'll follow up with Nancy on the two items that she brought up. All right, thank you. All right.
Next item on the agenda is an update to be given by Danielle Pack McCarthy on her work as Addiction Resource Coordinator.
Hi again.
Welcome back.
I am back. So I just want to, I wanted to just start by saying that I was interviewed by Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff this month, and that is up on YouTube, and I think the town gets a copy of that. I'm not sure how these things work, but something that struck me and continues to strike me when the more people I talk to about my position is how unique this position is in many of the towns and the people I talk to. So people are always like, wait, what county do you represent? Wait, what organization? And it makes me feel really proud to say it's the town of Philipstown that created this position. And so I'm really grateful to the town and to the board for showing their support in that way. So I continue to provide help on a micro level to support families in crisis, and then also continuing to just support families in different ways. As you know, addiction can take so many different forms, and it's not a lot of times this work and this support is longer term, just because people continue to struggle and their families continue to struggle. I've met with some local families who have lost someone to overdose, and just to try to inform myself and my actions in what I need to do in terms of supporting those who have lost someone. For instance, I spoke with a mother who lost a son, and she spoke about his siblings and how his siblings really still struggle a lot. And so we talked about maybe the possibility of a support group for siblings of someone who's lost someone. And there's so many young people in this town who have been impacted by addiction that we're starting to talk about how something like that would look and how we can make something like that happen. Representative Montgomery had mentioned, legislator in Montgomery, we visited St. Christopher's yesterday, and it was a really powerful tour and meeting with the men there. And my position, I always consider how can this visit help inform what I'm doing and help the people who are either suffering or help prevent the problem of addiction from occurring in the first place. And so I hope to work with Nancy in working with St. Christopher's and how can the town of Philipstown be secured a certain number of beds that are reserved for local people who are suffering, because again, St. Christopher serves people from throughout the city, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, all over. And so I just want to see, because something's such a great resource, so local to us, we want to make sure that our residents are gaining access there. So we're going to continue to work on that. My work with Judge Linson continues to really evolve, and I sit on criminal court with her. And this month, I pulled together law enforcement, Putnam County Sheriff's Officer Piazza, and Judge Linson and I met to talk about how to kind of get people to see me more easily. And so they have my cards back there now. So instead of having them up here when people can kind of quietly grab one on the way out, people have approached me during court and just kind of sidled up next to me and asked for information, or just kind of, I had a grandma whose daughter is addicted to heroin and just wanted to talk. And so that is happening. So the more that I can kind of get out there, those kind of things are happening. So the coordination between law enforcement, Judge Linson, and emergency services, Philipstown Ambulance Corps, Nick Falcone, has been great in just kind of brainstorming different ways of how to kind of tackle this problem on different angles. And I think that is it for me. Yes.
Thanks for everything you do.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle.
As proud as you are to be part of this, we're proud that you're representing us. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure the
Thank you.
job is getting done 150%.
Right.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Yeah, thank you very
Thanks
much. All right.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a discussion with Ms. Ellis with regard to the road restoration requirements for her timber forest permit.
Good evening. What I have to address the board on doesn't have the gravity of the presentation that you just heard. My name is Francis Ellis, and I'm here on behalf of my mother, Sarah, and my brother and sister to address the board on the subject of the Ellis timber harvest. I'm here tonight with the forester, a certified professional forester with Lower Hudson Forestry Services, Chris Prentice. If the board will entertain a few minutes of a discussion of the forest tax law, I have some materials that I brought, and we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I just hope that the board would be familiar, and I hope that I would be allowed to put this permit in context. So if I may approach the board, I'll...
Certainly, yes.
Thank you, sir.
I also have a limited number of copies of the slides, if anyone's interested. So it's safe to say that I would not be here this evening to address you, but for the forest law, tax law. The first page of this handout shows what the benefits are to New Yorkers in exchange for an 80% exemption land that's on the land that's committed to the program. This is what New Yorkers get. I don't know about aesthetics, but a professional forester is very concerned also not only with the trees but with wildlife. It provides jobs in forest products industry, recreation, and this may be a good moment to mention that the land that we committed to the program is actually not in Philipstown. It's in Fishkill, but the access to the property is only through Philipstown. So clean air, clean water, and more importantly, every day is carbon sequestration. So the program is managed under a plan that's updated every 5 years. The complete forest is inventoried, it's followed, its growth is followed, and at some point there has to be a harvest. I requested that the harvest be as conservative as possible. Violations for are heavy. The penalties are heavy, 5 times back taxes. So naturally, this is a huge incentive to comply with every part of the program. And we hired professional foresters to help us do that. So, moving on to the actual process of applying for a permit. It began with us in September when Chris filed the application with the Fishkill Town Board. And I got a notice from Doug, who's also a forester. Doug is handing off his duties as a forester to Chris. And so I've been working mainly with Chris on this project. So it appears, this is all hearsay, of course, but it appears that Philipstown knew about our application as early as September 28th. So then it took Fishkill 2 months to draft or to approve the project. They demanded the escrow, and we deposited that on November 21st. The conditions that Fishkill set included a survey. Obviously, since the county line goes through our property, there is naturally a concern that about harvesting in Philipstown. But part of the program requires that the outline of the forest be properly marked, and this requires that I go over the line and renew all the marks every 3 years. So anyway, I believe Chris has already addressed some of you on this, and the necessity of having a new survey has been waived, I believe. Anyway, this says that Chris will provide the town of Philipstown a map showing the GPS points he and Max took yesterday, and the survey issue should be resolved within the week. Did that get done? So then the next condition was a proper road bond, and we dealt with that, and Chris spoke with the highway superintendent, and he set the road bond at $20,000. So then I thought that it would be a good idea to get these things nailed down, given that if we just let it slide until next fall, people's memories might fade, including my own, and it might be hard to get restarted. So while the process was flowing along as slowly as it has, I thought if the board could entertain finishing it, then that would be a good idea if we did that in a timely manner. So we got a note from the town attorney that the suggested escrow would be $3,500 to $5,000, and that struck me and Doug and Chris as excessive. So this morning, I spoke with Carl, and I asked him how much he thought it would cost to do the inspections. And he very kindly called me back and gave me this figure, $1,500. So that really boils it down to what the cost of the review of the documents would be. And just as a matter of comparison for your information, the town of Fishkill demanded $2,500 in escrow, and that will include inspections throughout the project. Once the project starts, and I'm told that a two-man team can do it in 2 weeks, and Chris can tell you how many truckloads that would be. But it seems that the escrow being demanded by the town's attorney seems to be out of proportion to what Fishkill has demanded. I'm here to petition the board for a reasonable escrow amount.
So would you see the $2,500 amount being a reasonable amount?
If you set it at $2,500?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
All right, with the board's permission, I just don't see there being, if it's a 2-week process, how many inspections are going to be and how much review will
But
be.
I would appreciate if there could be some sort of guidelines, because that would mean $1,000 to review documents that might just take 10 minutes to
It's
review.
escrow, so if it takes 10 minutes, you only get billed for 10 minutes. It doesn't mean we keep the money. You get returned whatever portion of the escrow doesn't get used.
Doesn't get used, you get that back.
Well, how will I know that?
Well,
We get a bill.
we get a bill from our attorney for the amount.
And that bill is, I have access, you will disclose
Yes.
that bill to me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's public
Okay.
knowledge.
And it's an
Yeah,
itemized, if it's just a letter that says,
No, these are itemized bills.
Okay.
They show the hours and the time that's allotted to any task that the attorney performs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
We have
I
no
mean-
problem. It's your money. If you want to see the bill, that's fine. No, this isn't a money-making operation. These are just functions.
The timber harvest is not really that much of a
No,
money-making.
I'll bet it's not.
At the end of the day, we realize maybe slightly more than half with all, because everybody's got to get paid. Fishkill, Philipstown,
Yeah.
Chris.
Understood.
Yeah, we get it.
Okay.
Yep.
So
So we'll rewrite the resolution and,
what's there to rewrite?
well, we'll have
The amount of money.
the amount of money that's on here that's not filled in.
You don't want to vote on it now?
No, not
Okay.
before I speak to the attorney.
Okay.
But we'll set that at 2,500, and then I'd have to go over with him that the undertaking for the restoration, I don't have a problem accepting a bond for that either. We've accepted road bonds before. He was looking for a cash surety or a letter of credit.
We would much prefer a road bond because that's what our contract requires. And I don't know if the purchaser would have a problem with an LOC, but
Yeah, it's fine.
that's what they're used to.
Yep. Yeah,
Thank
we've
you very
taken
much.
bonds before and we've collected on bonds before, so there shouldn't be any hesitancy there.
So with that said, wouldn't you plan on starting this again, like November timeframe or December?
It'll all depend on the weather.
I know, it's a
We
certain-
can't begin before November 1st
Right.
because
That's what I was
of the wildlife
Right.
restrictions. We have rattlers, bats.
So what I'm asking is, once this is all finalized, you plan on starting sometime after November 1st, or
Yeah.
depending on your other schedules and so forth like that?
I'm sure they want, they were hoping to get it done this season.
I know.
But, as long as the purchaser follows through with posting the proper instruments in a timely manner, and the weather cooperates, we would start right at the beginning of November.
All right.
And I believe we have to notify them, right? We have to notify Fishkill, don't we? Do we also have to notify Philipstown?
Be hard to do inspections if we don't know you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know when you start the project.
Absolutely.
Right, because of the pre-inspection of the road and.
Yeah, it's in your best interest to notify us.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, the road is only 28/100ths of a mile,
Right.
but it's a new road.
Mhm.
My family has owned the property since 1961, and the road is basically new.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
All right,
road.
so I'll let you know. I'll speak to the attorney, and then we'll get this straightened out, because right now, the way the resolution reads is that the undertaking is in the form of cash or a letter of credit. So if you'd rather have a bond, we'll accept the bond.
I would much rather have a bond.
And that's why I'm saying we can't vote on it now, so we'll have to reword it.
Well, and you have till November to get this process completed anyways.
But he needs this in order for Fishkill to
go
move ahead on it.
Right, and, as long as the process is rolling along, let's complete it.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be meeting next week. I'm sure we can take care of this next week.
By Wednesday.
Okay.
We have a meeting Wednesday night.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Okay, should I attend?
If you want to. If you're really bored that night.
You'll be even more bored.
Oh, that's terrible. We're not that bored. Come on. All right, thank you. Yes.
Next item on the agenda is a discussion with Central Hudson Lime Energy on an energy-efficient proposal.
Thank you for the invitation of being here this evening. You are all emailed the most recent in-date proposals earlier today, and I apologize for not bringing a copy today for extra members. In paper format, I had 2 huge school presentations earlier today. Still glad to make it here this evening. Little background to the program that Central Hudson and every utility offers, and that's to get power off the grid. And how this is done is it's kind of driven by the Public Service Commission. And if they don't get power off the grid on a regular basis and so many kilowatts, they'll get fined. So how they do that is they give energy reduction initiatives, and this evening I'll be talking specifically about lighting upgrades to town of Philipstown owned properties. So a few months ago I was in Nelsonville next door, and when I got done there and did their audit, I asked who else was around that I might want to reach out to, and they mentioned town of Philipstown. So I came down here, subsequently got the lay of the land and how many buildings you have, and I ended up auditing this building we're in tonight, the rec center in Garrison, and the salt shed only at the highway garage, because I found out you're building a new highway garage, so it made no sense to audit the existing garage that's there. And quite a bit of opportunity to save the town substantial funds and operational and electric usage costs. And with the propositions handed down from the governor's office on an ongoing basis to get power off the grid however you can, drilling down to the local town level, I applaud you for entertaining the possibilities that I might bring to you this evening to do that. The goal is to get power off the grid. So what my job was to physically walk each building, jot down and visually look at what you had for lighting and quantity and type, and what was in the program that qualified for what we call an aftermeasure in the LED category. So the first site I'd like to discuss tonight, which is what I was asked to focus on, primarily is your largest situation to cut down on energy costs, and that's the rec center down in Garrison. If you take a look at the scope of work, you'll notice some modern fluorescent lighting in the T8 tube category. You'll find a lot of incandescent Edison screw-in light bulbs, which we all know they don't even make anymore. You have some older exit lights. You have some T12 fluorescent tube lights down there, which they don't even have in production anymore. And you have some gymnasium lights, which while they're modern, the LED replacements use a lot less energy and last 4 to 5 times longer. You also have some exterior lights. I believe the exterior lights down there were already done through another prior program. So you have a lot of T12 lights in the basement level alone. And like I just mentioned, they're not even making those in production. So that area would end up going dark. So now is an excellent time to take a look into LED lighting as an option for that building. Now, how the program works is Lime Energy, we are the incumbent exclusive contract holder for this program for Central Hudson, and we had it previously through the prior contract that expired. We submitted an RFP with about a dozen other companies, and they like what we're doing so well that they gave us the contract for the next period cycle, which goes through the end of 2020. The total purchase price reflected on this project, that's labor. We provide vetted electrical contractors, prevailing wage, materials, and removal of refuse. And the last point is just as important as the first two, because as we all know, you can't throw these items in the dumpster anymore, and it becomes a bigger headache to get rid of and recycle, and very expensive. This project total cost in the scope that I captured was $38,660. Upfront project incentives by Central Hudson amount to around $13,229. This is a non-rebate program. In other words, a lot of people have heard of other programs where you expend the money up front and you hope the contractor submits the paperwork and you wait for the rebates to maybe come, hopefully in the amount that they said was going to amount to. In this case, it's right off the top, upfront money to the town of over $13,000 to offset this project at the rec center. Now, the remaining customer price of $25,431 is not the real price you pay. That's the price if you were going to float it over a 12 or 24-month zero-interest finance option. Over 90% of the clients I do these audits for, both public and private sectors, opt for the one-pay lump sum billed 3 weeks after the work is done. So this is a zero-down program, not a penny down by the town up front. Would reduce this project cost, your share, down to $22,733. That's reflected on page 11 of this proposal. These options all exist, but like I said, most customers want to take the one lump sum. In your case, it's $2,500 discount. And we understand that you have a certain check writing cycle, being a government entity, so that if after the work is done, you get your bill, your share, and we just assume you're going to put it in the next check writing cycle. So it could be another 2 to 4 weeks after you receive it that we expect the payment for your share. And then the remaining cost of it is paid by the utility to Lime Energy directly, and the contractors are paid by us. There are no downsides to this program. In addition to the energy savings based upon the hours of operation at this site, you could be looking at saving over $500 a month. And that's reflected on page 2.
Yeah, I don't think we have the latest copy here.
Yeah, the numbers are thrown out, don't.
We have an old copy.
I can't find them.
Yeah, my numbers aren't matching.
Is the project number you have on the bottom of page 3 CH23440.1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the right project number. So
The numbers you're quoting are not matching what we have.
No.
what's the date of your proposal you have in front of you?
3-1.
Okay, my proposal is dated April 4th.
That's why we're not
We're
matching.
a month behind.
So,
But the price difference is substantial. So is that-
Yeah. Well,
Seems to be, yeah, the final price on this one.
It's a $3,000 difference.
No, it's even more if he's talking about.
22,000, we're at 725.
I'll have to review the copy that you have in front of you because I'm not,
You want to see?
yeah, sure.
You're gonna have to sooner or later because the lights aren't even.
I'm going to have to review as to why that difference is.
So what's your final purchase price and then the project incentive if we go to page 11?
Yeah, we got 25,795 here.
Purchase price was 38,660. Incentive was 13,229.
What was the incentive again?
13,229.
Yeah, that number's right.
But the other number was 13,
Yeah, the
difference
other
of
one's much higher.
13,000.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look into that because
So the customer balance is what on yours?
That's gonna go up.
before the one-pay discount, 25,431.
Okay,
After the one-pay discount, 22,733.
that's where I was, yeah.
There quite possibly could have been a price increase from when I did this last July to now.
Be substantial. It's like,
It's kind of a moving target, and that's why these inherently are only good for 45 days.
yeah, it's like a 50% price increase though.
I'll have to look into it. It's quite possible that the original one was not done at prevailing wage, and we all know what prevailing wage does to projects.
Right?
So I will double check and get back to you on this.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah, it'd be good to get an accurate proposal.
Yep.
I mean, we're obviously very interested in the program, but
There's probably going to be about a third picked up by the utility before the 10% discount. So the savings and the contribution by the utility, which, by the way, you pay into, it's an SBC charge every month on your bill. So it's kind of like getting your money back.
Right.
So if you don't take advantage of the program, that money goes back into the pool and other people can use it.
Is this just for the rec center, this numbers?
This is the rec center, okay?
Because we're renovating this building soon, would it make
So
sense
the
to-
building we're in is a separate audit that I performed back in July of last year as well. This building here that we're in has Edison screw-in measures, it has T12 tube fluorescents, has T8 fluorescents, has exit signs that are old. It has 35 line items of eligible measures, including the screw-in measures around the perimeter exterior. The total cost for this project is $13,759. The incentive is $36.56. The remaining net customer cost with the discount is $9,031.
well, right now, what we'd be most interested in would be the rec department. Since we're entertaining an overhaul of this building, we'll be putting new lighting in. The highway department, if we do that, we'll be putting new lighting in, so,
Well, the highway department, the only thing I audited there was the salt shed,
right.
which
so,
is gonna be unchanged
Yep.
as far as what its purpose is and location.
Mhm.
The measures in this building here were for relamp and reballast. They were not for new fixtures. It's always a less expensive way to go with the program.
Right.
Do we offer new fixtures? Yes. Do they cost more? Yes. And they're incentivized, therefore, less than relamp or reballast existing fixtures. So the salt shed, just to give you a brief summary of that location, interior and exterior measures, it's a small project. You're basically going from very inefficient metal halide fixtures to LED fixtures that use a fraction of the energy. They're instant on, by the way, too. So if you decide to go with this project, which is not large, your net cost on this is under $600 to do it. Your cost is $591.70. So the nice thing about this is the highway department no longer will have to leave the lights on 24/7 during a snow event because LED lights are instant on. There's no warm-up time. So this would be a good one to consider, not just for the smallness of the investment, but for the more appropriateness of the use of lights that every time they have a snow event. I've not yet heard of a salt shed being on 24/7.
Just us.
They just leave them on. There's no motion sensors involved either in that situation. So there's some obvious additional advantages to going to LED lighting that you may or may not be aware of, and I thought I'd discuss those briefly now. Obviously, the cost of operating an electric bill of these measures will go down once you go to LED. The maintenance costs will go down because LED lasts about 4 to 5 times longer than what you currently have for lighting. So there's going to be a maintenance reduction cost involved because they won't be spending as much time replacing bulbs and ballast. You'll be helping to satisfy the state proposition to become green as a municipality in New York State. You'll be getting your SBC charges back that you pay every month from the bill to the utility, which they're required to collect for these types of programs. You'll be getting a warranty on everything we do and touch of between 5 and 10 years, which is unheard of in the industry. We also do the mountain of Department of Labor paperwork required by prevailing wage projects. So that will ease the burden of your clerk in the town because we take care of the paperwork required. Zero down. There's no rebates involved. And finally, last but not least, especially with your rec center that serves the public as heavily as it does with many hours a week and uses of many types, any visitors and users and any staff employees that are there that may or may not tell you they get migraine headaches from fluorescent lighting, many people do, that goes away with LED lighting. And lastly, but not least, having heard that this week was National Autism Awareness Day, earlier this week, going to LED lighting will be more suitable for people who are on the spectrum because it doesn't have the frequency fluttering lighting that fluorescent does. So in essence, when you do the project either here and or more heavily used, the Garrison facility, you'll actually be turning that facility into a autism supportive site for guests and staffers who may be on the spectrum. I'll open it up to any questions that I may not have answered that you might have at this time.
No, we've had time to look at the proposal. I think if we can get an accurate, the one that you have, and nail down the costs, then we can render a decision on it.
Okay. I will refresh that and see what happened with that numbers. Obviously, in the technology world, things happen. I'm going to double check and triple check as to why there's a difference. And Judy, if you can email me that one that.
The proposal Chris sent?
Yeah. Okay. So just to give you a picture here, if you decide to move forward at the next board meeting, or if this is decided in a workshop session, I don't know how the town works here. Every town is different. I just need like the supervisor or the treasurer to sign off on it as signatory. There are 2 other forms to complete. One's hours per week lights on, and one's an ST 124 tax exempt. Even though you're tax exempt, we keep that on file because there's no sales tax because it's considered a capital improvement. Then it goes into production. A contractor is assigned the job. Then that contractor orders the materials, and then you would get a phone call probably within 4 to 6 weeks after signing the documents to move forward on the project to schedule the installation.
Would we do scheduling, or we have too many programs there to have scheduling at certain times?
I could find out possibly how long it would take to complete the work. Even though it's a prevailing wage project, obviously, the contractor should give some idea as to how long it would take to do the work. And based upon your heavy usage of the building in question, I don't think they'll show up with 2 people to do it as a team. They might show up with 2 teams of 2 people to do it, just so it's done expeditiously. But I can find that out for you. In fact, I'll take the scope that's on the table right now within the week, and I'll have that information so you can have an idea. So if you have, the contractors normally work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. If you have a scheduled time that they can work around, and they're used to working around these types of situations to begin with, but I can understand your concern being a heavily used public facility, I'll try to find out the scope of work.
Well, it could work out. I mean, most of the rec department stuff now is on the weekends and after school.
Except for camp.
Well, summer camp, we don't
Yeah,
want to be
yeah,
doing
kids
anything. We
couldn't do it.
couldn't do it during summer camp, no.
The contractors then would do the work, they removed the refuse with them, someone in charge there at the project on your site would sign off that the work was done, and then we bill you, and then you send a check your next check running cycle. And just to let you know, we use all brand name product, Philips, Osram, Sylvania, just to drop some brand names, because the utility won't let us install a product that won't perform well.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, what is Chris's role? Because he's the one who's called and emailed this proposal.
So-
Is he Central Hudson?
No, Chris works for Lime Energy out of New Jersey, our home office, and he picks up on some projects that are certain size that may not have moved forward for different reasons. And I believe when I originally did the cold call walk-in, hi, I am here, and this is the program back in last July, either financially or my timing was off or whatever, I still did the audit. By the way, it was done at no charge at that time. Couple follow-ups, nothing really transpired until recently. So that's how I was able to refresh and get it back in circulation with Chris's help out of New Jersey from our program.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. We
Thank
get
you.
more items on the agenda, but one thing we'll need is the accurate proposal and then a list of project references, someone we called who has had experience with you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have that one. We're going to do that at the end. Go ahead,
Do
Teresa.
that at the end, okay. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing a donation in the amount of $300 to the Nelsonville Fish and Fur Club for this year's Kids Fishing Day, scheduled for May 5th, 2019.
Okay, this is something we do every year, and we're going to continue to do it, so could I get a motion authorizing that expenditure?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thanks to Nelsonville for putting on it every year. It's well worth it.
Sure is.
The next item is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for a local law establishing a 6-month moratorium on the submission and processing of applications for land use approvals for vape shops within the town of Philipstown.
Well, I mean, do we want to do this in a month? Mike, I mean, what do we want to do this in a, how pressing is this?
Well, next month, I don't think we have too much in it. I mean, we do have stormwater, but that's not gonna take all that long, so.
No, we could do it next month at the town board meeting. We come in at 7:15 and have the public hearing.
Yeah.
So let's do it at 7:15 on, what's the date for the next monthly board meeting?
I got it.
I forgot to bring this, the calendar.
It would be
May 2nd,
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
5/2.
So 7:15, May 2nd.
Okay.
Public hearing on the vape shop moratorium. Could I get a motion on that?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. There we go.
The next item is a resolution setting a public hearing for the Stormwater MS4 annual report.
You want to do that at 7:30 the same night?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's likely to be, I mean, generally it's a,
Yeah, it's usually, I mean, obviously, it's a requirement under the
Right.
regulations. We'll put it up. We met yesterday. We've finished the draft report. Obviously, the period ended March 9th. You will be receiving the draft report. If you could let us know that you're generally okay with it. Obviously, we can schedule the public hearing for May, have it, unless there's any significant comments or issues. We would go ahead and finalize the report for your signature, and then be able to get it out at the end of the month.
all right, so let's do that May 2nd at 7:30 then.
Quite a night.
7:30 at night. Why not?
So it's quite a night for scheduling.
Jam it up. Maybe knock a few other things off the agenda. So could I get a motion on the resolution setting the public hearing for the Stormwater MS4 report, May 2nd, 7:30 PM here at Town Hall?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. We have one more Late edition, delete, coming across the teletype. The Highway Department wants to, we have a yellow flag on the Horton Road Bridge, so they want to go ahead and do the work on that. He's got it in the budget for this year, but he just needs us to give him the okay to go ahead and advertise for bidders for the Horton Road Bridge abutment repair.
Do you know how much was in the budget allocated for that?
I don't think it's a big project, but
No.
I don't know. It's not,
It just
it might be $15,000, $20,000, something like that, but he's got it.
Okay.
He's got it in there. I'm not gonna,
No, I didn't worry about it. Just curious.
no. Well, we'll find out when the bids come in, so. Say rate, we need a resolution approving to advertise for bidders for the Horton Road abutment repairs.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, Carl, go to town.
The next item on the agenda are the code enforcement reports. Town of Philipstown, fees collected, $9,516. Total number of permits issued, 23. New 1 or 2 family dwellings, 1. Additions, alterations, or repairs, residential buildings, 2. Addition, alterations, and repairs, commercial buildings, 1. All other permits, pool, sheds, deck, etc., 21. Number of certificates of occupancy, 22. Number of stop work orders issued, 2. Inspection of public assembly, 2. Inspection of commercial occupancies, 2. For the Village of Cold Spring, fees collected, $950. Total number of permits issued, 6. Additions, alterations, and repairs to residential buildings, 5. Alterations, additions, repairs to commercial buildings, 1. Number of certificates of occupancy, 3. Operating permits issued, 2. Inspection of commercial properties, 2. And there's a note, 1 notice of violation issued.
It was bad. All right, thank you, Greg Winter, for that update. We're gonna meet next Wednesday and go over the rooftop solar installation proposal that we have for recreation that Councilman Flaherty's been working on for the past year, and hopefully move that along. So we'll meet next Wednesday at 7:30. Anything else from the board?
I was contacted by.
Just jump right in. Mike
Sorry
was,
about
you
that.
know,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, John. That's all right. Cut me right off.
Sorry. You want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Lee Erickson contacted me through the Garrison Fire Department in reference to the low wires. They're putting their new ladder truck into service, their refurbished ladder truck into service. And I guess there's a lot of phone lines over the roads that are hanging low. And I know this has been an ongoing issue since before I got on the board. I remember Al Hosmer discussing these problems. Verizon just doesn't want to spend money on the wired services. So the wires continue to hang. They did have an episode where a truck tore down the wires. So I suggested that he get a list to Carl, or put together a list with Carl, bring it to us, and then we can go as a township to try to get them to, address these wires that are, I mean, there's a number of trucks that have caught wires. I know I've hooked them with my own truck on the East Mountain, but.
Wires don't hold on very long.
No, they don't. So the poles come down, the trees come down, and it's creating a problem. So we're working on getting it.
One on 301, that tree's been on there for like 2 years.
Oh, yeah, at least.
And a lot of the poles, I can remember the poles being discussed, that the old poles just stay there because they're owned by
Yeah, Central
Verizon.
Hudson cuts them off at the high end.
At their wires,
They
right.
take that
Yeah,
down.
right. The low-hanging stuff is
It's all
Verizon
Verizon,
and the
yeah.
cable TV.
There's still a rope holding a Verizon thing up on East Mountain from an ice storm in 2010.
There's one wire just up from my house that's very low, and it's constantly being hooked by vehicles. So.
You would think they'd want to do something
You
about
would,
it.
yeah.
They're getting out of the landline business.
Yeah, they're not investing.
Well, yeah, if he sends in it, we'll definitely back him up on it.
Absolutely.
You can take the truck out for a ride and tear a bunch down.
Yeah. Or just go up it and cut it. Well, there is a legal height limit.
Yeah.
And which
that
they're
they
exceeding.
Go around and
Right.
Yeah.
make sure, yeah.
Can Mike talk now?
Mike, you're up.
Yeah, you're done. Are you done, John? Got it. That's
Take
it.
the mic.
Hit the mic.
That's
Mike,
funny,
take it,
Celia.
Mike.
Celia's going to be here all week.
Okay, on March 13th, Judy and myself, along with Nat Prentice, who's the Comprehensive Plan Coordinator, went to the FDR Library in Hyde Park. We did receive a $15,000 grant, and we obviously got that from the Hudson River Valley Communities Council and the Greenway Conservatory. We also, Nat Prentice stood up, explained basically what we were looking to do in the comprehensive plan update quickly, what the money would go for. Obviously, once you have your ideas, and quickly, again, this is the town itself, the people in the town, not the board, the town people, being able to take a look at the current comprehensive plan and being able to expand on it. There are things naturally, a number of things that have changed since it was originally drafted. And it went over very well. We did receive also a certificate of recognition from Senator Susurino's office, congratulating us for taking on this project and being committed to preserving the scenic, natural, historic, and recreational resources in the Hudson Valley. So we, along with another town, did the similar project, Cornwall. I would say that their task is going to be quite more involved than ours. Their comprehensive plan hasn't been touched since 1960, so we're in clearly better shape that way. But it was very good to go there and basically have our town show that we're really trying hard to bring our ideas up to date and be able to make some changes. So we're monitoring that. If you're interested in the comprehensive plan, joining it, get in touch with me or someone, and we'd be happy to have you on the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Judy, for attending.
It was a pleasure. It was a great event to hear all the towns, but to see Philipstown highlighted was really nice.
Yep.
As we should be. Exceptional in Philipstown. Anything else from the board? Anything from the audience? Joe?
My name is Joe Larice. I live off of Lane Gate Road. Monday morning, I was driving along Lane Gate Road, and as I was driving towards Route 9, a tractor trailer coming out of the Ventura property almost hit me. The sign on the door said Petrillo Construction. So it was a close call, but it was really secondary to it, and made me start to realize again how horrible that what's happening is there. I mean, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say there's thousands of cubic yards of material there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping, and the fact that this was a Petrillo construction vehicle means that they're making this 75-mile round trip to drop stuff off. So, you know, just a cursory look, you'll see what's there. There's rebar, concrete. You know, Mr. Leonard, you talked about storm runoff.
Right.
I'm sure whatever's there, and it's certainly probably not certified construction material at this point. And I know, Mr. Shea, you had told me that was originally permitted, that site for a construction yard.
Contractor yard. That's
Contractor
what it's
yard?
permitted
Okay.
for, yeah.
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 So I know you had also told me that it was in the courts.
Yes.
If you could give me an update and perhaps, you know, and again, the fact that these trucks are moving in and out of there, creating its own hazard is secondary to the bigger picture. So,
Right, so I can tell you what we've done. We went down, we cited them for 6 violations. We brought them into court. We prevailed on all 6 in local court. They filed an appeal. So in the appellate court down in White Plains, and that appeal went in nearly 2 years ago.
Right.
So the appeal was waiting to be heard, they're waiting to make a decision. That appeal is being looked at now. We just got some sort of notification, I'm not even sure what it is, from our own courts saying that the records here are going to be sealed. I'm not sure, I'll have to find out tomorrow what that means. But we're assuming it means that the appeal may be heard, which is bad news for us. But I can't verify that, but I will get back to you on that. We've also called the DEC on any number of occasions. We know the DEC's been on site. We know they've been cited by the DEC, but there doesn't seem to be any improvement due to these DEC sightings. So we could follow up again with the DEC. We feel like our position is so strong. Number one is by zoning, that operation is not even allowed there. Processing is not allowed south of 301. Mm-hmm. So it's outright illegal. Number two is just, even if processing were allowed, it wouldn't be allowed under those circumstances. It's outrageous what's going on there. But until we either prevail in the court, or, which I think we will, we can't get an injunction. So that's what it'll take to close this place down. It should be shut down tomorrow. I mean, 100%. It's horrible. I mean, I can't believe Central Hudson's not down there looking at that, because you can walk up that mountain and touch the the power lines, and their telephone poles are buried.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think they want to do something. You would think the DEC would want to shut them down tomorrow, because things like runoff, they're right next to a wetland. So far, he just continues to run and flout the law, in complete opposition to everything that we've been trying to do. So it's frustrating. It's as frustrating as it is for you, it's much more so for me, because I hear it from so many people. But we've done everything we can do legally. So at this point, we're still in a holding pattern, but we should have some news. I should have some more news tomorrow in regard to this recent filing that we got through our courts.
Okay. And you're learning this through the town attorney, what's happening relative to the courts, or the?
It is a town attorney.
Okay.
So it's somebody who handles these matters for us.
All right. And there's the follow-up, when you say the DEC does citations, what is that process? There's a fine, a physical fine that he has to pay? Or?
They levy fines. They they issue remediation, and.
So he has been paying the fines, as far as you know? Or?
Probably not, no.
Probably not.
No,
Right.
He's not doing anything. He's just
So
flouting
it's not
the law.
even the cost of doing business.
Flouting
he's
the
just
law
flouting
entirely. And again, DC would have to take him to court.
Right.
Same thing.
Because of the earlier presentation about forestry, it looks like there's some teeth in doing certain things as far as violations. You pay so many more times, and that's it. And you got to start legally. So
yeah.
So it's just surprising to me that the courts. Well, I guess the delay is.
It's maddening. It's been 2 years just to get to the point where they're going to hear the appeal.
All right. Well, if you could let me know in any manner you think is appropriate,
Yep.
I would appreciate it.
All right, but I'll have some information tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, Kim. Good.
So I'm Kim Connor. I'm supposed to say that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I went to Westchester Municipal Planning Federation training last month. And there was a speaker from NYSERDA who was talking about New York State's goals for clean energy. And one of the things that he talked about was that there are some things coming down the pike that he thought that towns ought to know about so that they can prepare legislation in advance, having to do with large solar installations, for example, battery storage facilities, large battery storage facilities, and I can't read my notes, but there was one other thing, and basically what he said is if communities put in rules and regulations, it'll allow them to transition more easily, and that these projects are going to have impacts. Just because they're green doesn't mean they get a free pass. So he handed out a really big, thick book, which I would like to give to you guys. And, I don't think it requires a workshop or anything like that, but I just thought I'd share this information with you so we can get out ahead of what's coming. I mean, it's exciting, but it's good to know what we're going to be dealing with.
This weekend I was speaking with the fire chief of Garrison about the proposed solar system on the roof at the rec center, and he had made some suggestions to us too. So, and that may be because he had just done some training involving solar.
We might have been in the same place.
You might have been,
Yeah.
and he had made a couple great suggestions to protect the firemen, which we may have in the system that we're getting or propose to get, but we're not 100% sure. But we're certainly going to ask. But that might be something we could put into a building code. That you're right. I mean, these are great. They're green energy, but they still have to follow a code and be safe. Right?
Particularly the battery storage, because
Right.
they're going to be warehouses full of batteries.
Yeah.
And these are businesses that'll come in.
Right.
So the fire department certainly would be interested in that because that's exciting but really hazardous. So anyway, that's it.
All right, thank
So
you.
I'll drop it off at town hall. Whose
Terrific.
attention should I?
Great.
Should I put it to your attention, John?
You can put it right in my mailbox. Or tell
Awesome.
them to put it on.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're going to follow up on those?
Yeah, I'm just going to make sure that the system that we're proposing.
Yeah, but also with the talking about legislation, not only promoting, we've done a couple of things for promotion of solar, making it easier to get a permit, but also with large-scale solar or any large-scale battery installation, we're going to have to get, again, out in front of that.
Right. You can find a model somewhere.
You wanna
Create
look for
one.
one?
Yeah.
Create a model. I don't want to create any new models. All right, thank you, Kim. All right, we got workshops scheduled. Anything else from the audience? All right, vacancies. Conservation Board, Mike, did you speak to anybody today, or?
I left a message for
Okay.
one person.
So-
I look to hopefully fill this and go
So
to full.
the alternate, we're talking about doing an alternate membership on the Conservation Board. So maybe we can appoint 2 people
I'd
next
like
week.
to do that, yes.
Yeah, I
definitely.
think we should. Next
Yeah.
week, maybe we'll appoint the 2 people interviewed.
Okay.
So Conservation Board, still 1 vacancy, but we interviewed, yeah, that'll soon be filled, so really, I'm not gonna say there's 1 vacancy. Recreation,
They have two resumes, I believe, right, Judy? You have two?
Yes, I
Two,
think they received
so they're gonna go ahead and make a recommendation.
Yeah, they're interviewing and they're
All
gonna.
right. And then the Cemetery Commission 1.
Yeah, we really got 2 members. I mean, we can always take more, but we really doubled what we're looking for, so. by
All right,
getting 2,
good.
so-
That's
It
not
can
zero.
come off if you want it, yeah.
Great.
So that's closed.
Closed. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
There we go. Hooray!